Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you an overview on the botting situation in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls as of patch 2.3 and Season 4. Now we're not breaking new ground here and discussing this, but people keep asking for my thoughts on the botting situation, so here they are. Let's start with an overview. Botting seems to currently be more prevalent than ever before in Reaper of Souls. We're talking about running a program that basically plays the game for you, generally to help farm for crafting materials or greater rift keys. Now, I do not endorse botting, it is against the end user license agreement, and so it is a bannable offense. That said, part of the issue is that we haven't seen a big bot ban wave in quite some time. Because of this, and because the community cannot stop talking about botting, more and more people are trying it out. Do not do this unless you don't care about losing your account. Just because you've seen people botting for days, weeks, or even months without being banned, doesn't mean it won't happen one day. Historically, with Diablo 3 and some of their other games, Blizzard bans in big waves after significant intervals of time. Blizzard's anti-cheat tool is called Warden. And basically what it does is collect information about certain software that you are running while you're playing a Blizzard game, and send that information back to Blizzard. All it's doing is scanning for known cheat programs, and then will either send back to Blizzard a yes or a no as to whether it found a cheat or not. We'll get back to Warden in just a bit. A couple weeks ago, an open letter to Blizzard on behalf of the community was penned and signed by a lot of popular streamers and top tier players, and we're going to quote some highlights and add some commentary. Quote, "This is a message on behalf of the portion of the community that engages in the competitive aspects, such as leaderboards and conquests, of this game you created. The players who love this game to the point where they dedicate large portions of their free time to playing it, who want to have at least something to show for this dedication, who want to have their names up there on the leaderboards, and who want to see rewards for the countless hours of gameplay they spend on Diablo 3. Basically, if that doesn't describe you, then botting really isn't a significant issue for you. And what this means is that it isn't a significant issue for the vast majority of Diablo players. Now, that is not to say that it is not a significant issue for those to whom it does matter. Yes, for all the individuals who signed that letter, as well as everyone who is pushing for top spots on the leaderboards, it is a huge problem. But there's been a great overreaction among the community at large, with people who would never in their life have a chance at topping the leaderboards saying they're going to stop playing this game because of all the botting. What's happening is that because big streamers are complaining about botting, since for them it is a real problem, many of their viewers assume it's a problem for them as well. They see their favorite streamer being unhappy, so they become unhappy. And then they go spread that unhappiness to their friends and the community at large. This general air of negativity is being propagated throughout the community, getting people who otherwise wouldn't have cared or known about botting to either stop playing Diablo, start botting, or just continue to spread negativity. Look, for the vast majority of us, if we didn't know botting existed, we would not be unhappy right now. If you're not competing in the major leagues, does it really matter that some guy on your team is using steroids in a friendly neighborhood, non-competitive game of baseball? Again though, this is not to diminish the negative effect botting has on people who are competing for those leaderboard positions. So let's read this next passage. "It has come to a point where it is quite obvious that certain high-profile streamers are botting off-stream, and some are even admitting so themselves in public chat rooms. These players are viewed as examples by the community, so what kind of message does that send? To us, it sends a message that not only is it apparently legal to bot, but that the game even requires it to be competitive. This is a very strong argument, and it's requiring a shift in the way Blizzard deals with botters. You see, botting used to be a huge issue in the past for all players when we had the real money auction house. There were bots that would snipe auctions, bid and sell, there were bots that farmed items. As such, the game's economy was largely in the hands of botters. Blizzard was more active in punishing botters back then, because it was obvious to Blizzard that botting was a problem that affected everyone. The current trend of botting has a much smaller scope of direct effect, which explains Blizzard being much more lax in their response. But this message is pointing out how the indirect effect is more far-reaching. That trickle-down effect comes from the big streamers and influences the entire community. Let's read one more line. Still, with no action having been taken for so long, sending out a message to the entire community sooner rather than later would be a good idea. I strongly support this. The community has always been happy to have communication from the devs. I understand why action isn't taken very often, because after every botting ban wave, the bot developers get a little more information on how Warden detects their system. Blizzard does not want people to figure out exactly how Warden works, because then they can learn to circumvent it. So while I understand why we don't have frequent ban waves, there's little reason for Blizzard to not communicate with the community on the matter at this point. They historically have said nothing to avoid the exact situation we're in now. Everyone knows about bots and is talking about bots and trying out bots. But now we're in the situation. A change of tactics is needed, and Blizzard needs to reaffirm its stance against botting, warn players that they may lose their accounts, and basically just acknowledge what is going on and that they are working to take care of it. Now, before we close here, let's read a part of a rebuttal to this letter by Reddit user IRecio, who says, "They're crying because they don't like the fact that a handful of people that aren't streamers are able to keep up with them. They have an army of sycophant fans feeding them unlimited materials and keys on demand, giving them the ability to have perfect groups 24/7, and are literally being paid to play the game 22 hours a day, 7 days a week, all season, every season. Want to talk about an unfair advantage? There's your unfair advantage right there. Seriously, somebody botting has no impact on your experience for 99.99% of the player base. If somebody bots while they're at work to push those last 200 Paragon levels to 800 so they can still find groups that will take them, what difference does it make in your day? I guess it just wouldn't be a day here though without a bot or witch hunt or some sob story about how some Paragon level 300 guy who plays 30 hours a season isn't in the top 10, quote, because botters." Look, irritated tone and harsh words aside, he does make some valid counter-arguments. Technically, a top player who is a big streamer and commands a loyal fan base has an advantage over a top player who has no fans to lend him help. I don't think you can quite say it's the equivalent of botting, but I would understand if a non-streamer would be irritated at the advantage that a big streamer has. So, how do we leave off? First, with some good news. We've recently seen action taken against very blatant botting. One streamer named RedX forgot to turn off his stream before turning on his bot and going to sleep for 6 hours. He was banned. What this tells us is that Blizzard will act when someone is publicly caught in the act and enough awareness is raised in the community. Blizzard has two ways of banning people, either by getting Warden to flag accounts found botting or doing manual inspections. With so many people currently botting, getting Diablo 3's skeleton crew to put forth the manpower necessary to deal with these on a case-by-case basis is a huge strain on what is assuredly a small team. When a game isn't in active development, manpower is moved over to other projects. They don't just keep a full team of people on staff doing nothing every day, waiting for an emergency bot crisis. I doubt Diablo 3's team has the manpower to deal with the current volume of botters on a case-by-case basis. And this isn't something that they can just half-ass. They can't start going in and banning some of the guilty people while letting others slide, all while the bot problem persists. When they banned people for the Hellfire exploit, they did so after the exploit was fixed, and they knew they were dealing with a finite number of cases. New people start botting every day. This is not a problem that they can keep up with right now. So they need to rely on Warden. Now, what happened to the top players that got banned for the Hellfire exploit? They were set back, but many of them simply got right back to grinding and becoming competitive once more. So when would be the best time for Blizzard to issue a Warden ban wave to prevent any botters from possibly having a chance at making their way back onto the leaderboards? Right at the end of a season. I suspect that is what we may see. It would not surprise me if, say 24 hours before the season ends, we see a ban wave, botters get purged from the leaderboards, and the legit players rise and get their glory. That wraps up this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what action you think Blizzard will take against botters. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.